people. How's it going? Well, people have asked me questions. Know more about me for some particular reason. Well, I was born March 20th, 1963. Yes, JFK was still alive when I was born. That's a long time. Almost 61 years. Somewhere around there. I was born in Suffolk, England. So I am half English, half American, because my father or my dad, or whatever you want to call him, is American. My mother, who I love dearly, was English. So I am half Brit. Hence the Union Jack. There is a girl. That's funny. Jack is always there. And I do have a Union Jack on the wall over there. I have lived in a lot of places. I was a military kid. I lived in England, in Florida, Indiana, Florida, California, Hawaii, back to California, Okinawa, Japan, Orlando, Florida, then Minnesota, and then briefly in Nevada, back to Minnesota, then briefly in Iowa, back to Minnesota. I think I'm missing something. I don't think I am. Anyway, I've been to a lot of places, and I've traveled through different places and stuff. Don't like how that. I've got to figure out a way to make this thing either higher or the thing lower. One of the two. But anyway, I've lived a lot of places. I've had a lot of jobs. I think my favorite job was working at the animal hospital and kennel in Nevada. That was a lot of fun. I did enjoy the Nevada job. That was a lot of fun. I didn't like living in Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada to be precise. I need trees, and I need seasons, and tourists drive me crazy. Living in Orlando, Florida proved that me and tourism do not get along. One of the reasons I left Florida. I got into writing when I was at Fusaki High School in Okinawa. A counselor, for who I have no idea why I was sent there, recommended I should write poetry. I said I don't want to write poetry, and of course, naturally, I started writing poetry. Short story thing came later. But I've always been a reader. I've always read books. I'm a lot like my mother. I am probably 90% my mom. Somewhere around there. I mean, I love writing. I got into history in my freshman year of high school due to Mr. Cyrus in his history class. I've always enjoyed reading, as I said. I've lived a lot of places. I've done a lot of things. I've survived 645 days in a homeless shelter, Union Gospel Mission of St. Paul, Minnesota, where I am now, in Minnesota. It's been about 11 years since I got out of that madhouse. Yeah, I've written a few stories off and on about a lot of my life in the last 61 years. I don't know, everyone asks me about my life. It's like I don't know what to tell them. I can tell them where I've been. I can tell them some of the things I've done. It's really good. I feel like I'm sinking this way. There we go. That's better. I could tell people some of the jobs I've had. I've had a lot of jobs. I've worked for 2 churches. I will never work for a church again. I'm sorry. And caveat is that the size of the church does matter. Believe me, it does. You can find yourself a small one. Find yourself one that's biblically based, but make sure it's not very big. Big churches become very impersonal after a while. And you have to deal with egos, and I am sorry. But I would rather work at FedEx where I am now than work for a church ever again. One of the most unpleasant experiences I've ever had because it had to do with egos and the idea of self-importance and a host of other things. It should have been a wonderful job. Working for a church should be fun. It should be enjoyable. It should be connection. It should be a lot of things. It never was for me. I don't do well with people who have the attitude that, well, you're an employee and you're going to be treated as such. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm on a tangent, but it's one of those jobs that I really wanted to be something to remember by, fondly remember by, love to enjoy. I mean, yeah, the last time I worked for a church, it got me out on the mission. Great, wonderful. It lasted about 6 years. Well, it lasted a year. I went to Iowa, helped out a friend, work for her for a while, and then I came back here because Iowa is not for me. I lived in a small town, about 3,000 people. It's a small town. Tama, 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 Toledo. Tama, Toledo. Excuse me. A small town in the smack dab in the middle of Iowa. Yeah, I write a lot of what I write. If you read what I write, a lot of it deals with those kind of issues. People dealing with church issues, this and that. Basically life. I always have a hard time doing these things because people like they want these deep, depth conversations, and I could tell you why I will never work for a church again, and I can get quite into it if I wanted to, but it would be almost defeating of good churches. It would make good churches look bad because there are some good churches out there. I'm going to a good church. It's small. There's no sense of ego. There's no sense of anything. I mean, I'm sorry, but when you literally get treated more like an employee and not a member of the church, there's a problem. I mean, I really wish I had a different attitude, but I don't. People ask me about my life and what I think. Well, that's what I think. I think the bigger the church, the less connected and the less anything else you're ever going to experience. Other jobs, I've worked for hotels, I'm housekeeping, I have worked custodial, I have the Fort Apache Animal Hospital in Las Vegas is probably one of my favorite jobs. Working for animals. Animals are wonderful. I love animals. I miss my dog. You can't. I miss my dog. I miss my dog very much. I've liked writing. I I've run a marathon. Big whoop. I've been to Guam for a whole day because when the airplane landed until I got to Okinawa. Big whoop. I used to go snorkeling on Okinawa at night. They caught a 17-foot great white shark a week later in the same place that we were doing night snorkeling. That's a big shark. I've only seen one live shark, and that was when we were living in Hawaii. It was probably a sand shark, but this was also the same week I saw the movie Jaws. What's funny is I was with my sister, and we were both sitting on this one of those low piers, not very far off the surface of the water. My sister was not on that pier very long. My sister was gone. I just stood there watching as the fins came up and down. It was cool. You know, my sister abandoned me. She abandoned me for a sand shark. Sand sharks are pretty harmless, though. Pretty sure it was a sand shark. I mean, I work for Universal Studios and the cleanup crew. I once tried out to do one of the costume characters. I was told I was too tall. I'm 4'10" and a half. I've been told a lot of things. I'm never too tall. I was told I was too tall. I've worked for a few bookstores in my day. Worked for Half Price Bookstore, which is my favorite bookstore. I go there as much as I can. Spend money on books I probably don't really need. I need them all. I have a cup that says that. Yes, I do need all these books. Um, I have, let's say I've been homeless. I have stories I could tell about the Union Gospel Mission, which they will not like. It's a scam. I'm sorry, it's a scam. Don't get me started on this. I'll write about it. What I experienced in those homeless shelters in the Union Gospel Mission was basically a scam. It was obvious. And they let people preach there who don't believe the Bible in the first place. Well, don't believe all of it, I should say. Because they don't. They obviously don't. And they allow people there who just want to perform in front of an audience that has no choice but to be there. I mean, I've had a lot of live a long, long life. I'm trying to think of other stuff that might be worth talking about. See, the thing is, I'm so busy just going about my business that I write it all down. I write it down in my stories. I write this, that, and the other. That's why I'm a writer. I've been published. I've had poetry published. I've had at least one play done in a church. But what's funny is they did the play when I had left Orlando, Florida. I was here, actually. I had to send the play to them, if I remember correctly. This is a long time ago. But I remember they did the play. It was about human evolution. I read poetry, I read plays, I read articles, commentaries. I like writing. Or at least I used to like writing. I think lately I've been, excuse me. I'm lately, I'm being on the rut the last almost month now. I just have no motivation to write whatsoever. Partly why I'm doing this absurd YouTube thing right now. But I mean this video. I don't mean the other one. I mean just this one. To do something. I like writing and I hate writing. I mean, anything else works? I mean, I'm sure if I thought about it longer, I've lived an interesting life. I've done a lot of interesting things. I've done a lot of wrong things. I haven't lived a perfect life. I haven't lived this lovely, wonderful life. I just haven't. I've had moments of very bad bipolarness, which might be what's happening right now. Right now, I think I might be just battling bipolarness again. The downside. To one minute I'm fine, this one I'm not fine. I've always been that way. I've been that way since for a very long time. And writing in a lot of ways helps to get through it, but then when it hits too hard, I don't want to do anything. So, and I've gotten into doing the video thing because in the beginning I was not comfortable in front of this camera. If you watch a lot of the very early videos, the first ones, you could tell this guy does not want to be in front of this camera. Because I wasn't sure that it took about 3 years to figure out what I wanted to do. It really did. And I don't regret I kept trying. I'm glad I kept trying. I mean, I'm just having thoughts go through my head of what I've done about it. Played Little League, big deal. Did that twice. My dad was a coach on the first Little League team I did. I've been living, well, if you don't count the 2 times I wasn't living in Minnesota, Nevada, and Iowa, I've been here since '92. So I missed the great October blizzard of '91 of Minnesota. I like Minnesota. Minnesota's an interesting place. I have my own blog site with all the stuff I write. I have flash drives. I have all the other stuff I've written that I'm trying to get on the flash drive on the blog site. I've written a lot of stories, people. I've written at least over 200 short stories, and I think most of them are on the flash drive. Unfortunately, it might be evening out now, but I may never get all the stuff I've written on flash drives onto the blog site. I've got 30-something plays. I've written over 200 something short stories. I've written at least one novel that I haven't quite finished. Poetry. I have 2 kinds of poetry. There's my Christian Reflections of a Wandering Mind is everything but everything other than it is everything that is not Christian or biblical. So way to put it. It's basically good called just called secular. It's none of my secular poetry. That's the best way to put it. The other one is Flight of the Soul, which is my Jewish Christian poetry, which I stopped writing in 1999. That was a long time ago. I wrote a little bit off and on here and there. I haven't written any poetry in a while. On either poetry books that I have. I tried haiku. I'm not Japanese. I love Japan. I enjoyed living in Japan. That to me was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I was Okinawa, the rock. I haven't lived a dull life. I haven't lived a dull life because despite this sometimes I wish I had. I really do. I'm a Jewish Christian with the moment is kind of trying to figure out what he believes in, or at least maybe try to understand better what he believes, or something like that. And this is one of the conflicts right now in my personal life. Is I'm a Jew, but what kind of Jew? And I'm definitely not Orthodox because I'm not wearing newer hat all the time. I do love Jewish history. I do love everything Jewish. That would explain that. And that would explain that. Sorry, the menorah, and everything else in here. But anyway, I know I'm rambling. I think that's kind of what I wanted to do. I really wasn't gonna stick to one issue. People have asked me questions. I'm trying to answer some of the questions they've asked me or inquired about my life or this, that, and the other. Even though I don't work for the church I'm at right now, I do help in the sound and audio booth. They seem to like it. I found that on the computer when I got there yesterday. I appreciate the fact that they appreciate it. I didn't get that from the other two churches. I got more like, go do your job and stop talking to me. Sorry, I like talking to people. I'm not much as an introvert as they all think I am. I'm an introvert who avoids drama. I'm an extrovert who avoids drama created by other people. If you just want to bring drama into my life because you need it, don't bother me. I think in more interesting jobs I've had. I had a lot of them. I worked in an ice cream store. I've delivered bananas in a paperboy place. I've even made money at being a writer when I was writing for Writerzilla. I made $5 per article. $5 for 300 words. I made $5. It was pretty good. It was fun. I stopped doing it when the checks started bouncing. So I stopped doing that because the first check was fine. Okay, that happens. But then they all started bouncing. It's like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I got my first short story published only a few years ago, finally. But I like writing, despite the fact that I sometimes hate it. And sometimes I just don't feel like doing it. I have actually right now I have about 12 projects on the writing that I'm doing right now. 12 different things I'm trying to work on writing-wise. And it's just becoming a battle to do it, but I think that's normal sometimes. Anything interesting? Anything more interesting? Because people do ask me questions, so I really don't like answering them. I don't mind doing this because who's going to watch it? Hopefully somebody's going to watch it, I guess. They're going to watch it. But there's nobody looking at me except me. So I don't feel as self-conscious as talking about things. I may do another one of these, maybe, if they want me to do another one. I don't think anything else worth just mentioning. I like writing. I like history. I've always loved history. Mr. Cyrus got me into history. He wasn't a great high school teacher. He was a good high school teacher. He got me interested. He mostly focused on ancient history, which got me into more history. I was always into baseball history, so that was okay. I did play softball for the entire time I was at the first church I worked for. That was fun. I enjoyed the softball part of all that. That was fun. I enjoyed playing softball. I was a good catcher. My depth perception is terrible in the outfield, so I was put behind the plate, which is where I probably belong, and I like being catcher. It was fun. I enjoyed doing it. I've been to some of the usual touristy places: Grand Canyon, big deal. Tombstone, Arizona. So when I was there, it was like being a theme park. it did not, it did nothing for me. The Black Hills are cool. They're not on my bucket list. Would be Gettysburg, Little Bighorn, the Baseball Hall of Fame. Well, certainly the Baseball Hall of Fame, and certainly Gettysburg. I collect all sorts of